Good morning, and this is Miss Mason Explains Due Process. We're going to be looking at two Supreme Court cases, Gideon v. Wainwright and Miranda v. Arizona. So what is due process? Due process is the rules that the government must follow in order to be fair to people who are accused of a crime. So due process, government must be fair to people who are accused of a crime. And it is specific rules of what the government can and cannot do. And the due process is guaranteed from the Bill of Rights, specifically the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th Amendments. We're going to look at those in a few seconds. By the 14th Amendment, and I hope you remember what the 14th Amendment did, and the Supreme Court cases, all right, the two that we're going to look at today. All right, so let's look at the due process guarantees that are found in the Bill of Rights. So the first due process guarantee is freedom from illegal search and seizures. Now, what is seizures? It is not the meaning of the word that you are going to be starting to shake and it is a medical emergency. No, seizure means to take something from someone. Like, I'm going to take your backpack. I'm going to seize your backpack. And this is guaranteed by the 4th Amendment. And the 4th Amendment guarantees that you cannot be searched, arrested, or have your property taken without a warrant or probable cause. All right, so probable cause would be if a police officer saw you steal the crayons from Target, okay? The second due process guarantee we're going to look at is freedom from self-incrimination and double jeopardy. These are guaranteed by the 5th Amendment, and if you remember, double jeopardy and self-incrimination, so that means that the 5th Amendment protects you from testifying against yourself, self-incrimination, and double jeopardy, being tried for a crime twice. You cannot be tried for the same crime twice. All right, the next due process guarantee is freedom of a fair, speedy, and public trial. This is guaranteed by the 6th Amendment. And this basically means that the government must provide legal counsel, so a lawyer, to criminal defendants if they cannot afford one themselves. And defendants must be told the charges they are accused of. Now, if you remember from criminal law, what happens if you have no idea what you are being charged of? You can request a writ of habeas corpus. All right. And the last guarantee we're going to look at is freedom from excessive bail and cruel and unusual punishment. Excessive, too much. And bail is how much you have to pay to get out of jail. All right? And this is guaranteed by the 8th Amendment. Pretty much, it denies the police and the courts from setting too much of an amount for bail. So let's say you steal the crayons from Target. Well, a bail set at $1 million is way too much, especially if you're a first offender. All right, so an excessive bail would be $1 million for just stealing some crayons from Target. However, $1,000, $5,000, that is not excessive bail. Cruel and unusual punishment. Let's use the crayon stealing from Target example. So you're a first-time offender. Maybe you'll get probation. Maybe you'll get a week in jail. A cruel and unusual punishment would be if you were sentenced to a year in jail or 5 years in jail, okay? Just for stealing crayons from Target, a 99-cent pack of crayons, come on. So those are the due process guarantees that you can find in the Bill of Rights. So the 14th Amendment has the due process clause, all right? And it was ratified in 1868. And if you remember from last class, it applied the Bill of Rights to the states. Before 1868, the Bill of Rights only applied to the federal government. Now, the states have to also grant you the rights that are found in the Bill of Rights. So it's really important. Okay, and if you take a look at my little cartoon here, so you have the Bill of Rights, and they are, they've got their rope all around Congress, the president, and the courts. And check out, what are the state government doing? They're laughing. They're making fun of the federal government because they're being constricted, being controlled by the Bill of Rights. Well, what happens with the 14th Amendment? Uh-oh. Now you've got all of them. You've got the federal government and the two state government people, all right? So, yeah, so now you have everyone being controlled, being restricted by the Bill of Rights and the 14th Amendment. Okay, and the Due Process Clause prohibits the government from denying Americans the right to life, liberty, and property without due process of law. So without the rights that are guaranteed to you by the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 8th Amendments. All right. So really important amendment, 14th Amendment. All right, so let's take a look at Gideon versus Wainwright. So Gideon was a poor man living in Florida. He's arrested for stealing some stuff from a pool bar, where they play pool, the bar where they play pool. And he's charged with a felony. And he cannot afford a lawyer, so the judge refuses to appoint one, saying that the court only has to supply lawyers in federal cases, not state cases. All right, and this was a state case. So Gideon does not have a lawyer. He represents himself in court. He is convicted and sentenced to jail. Well, he applies for a writ of habeas corpus. All right, he does not understand why he is still in jail. He thinks, why didn't he get due process? He didn't get his lawyer. What's going on? So it gets up to the state of Florida's Supreme Court. They deny it. And then it goes up to the Supreme Court. So this is the important stuff. So the Supreme Court unanimously declares. Now, what does unanimously mean? All of the justices, all 9 of them, declare that the 6th Amendment requires state courts to provide attorneys for criminal defendants who cannot otherwise afford legal counsel. So now the 6th Amendment applies to states' courts, 14th Amendment. Yay. All right. Okay. So if you cannot afford an attorney, if you cannot afford a lawyer, the state is required to appoint you one, to assign one to you for your criminal trial. All right. Now remember, this is only for criminal law, not for civil law. All right. So what's the big deal? What's the precedent that was set by this decision? Well, the courts held that persons accused of felonies have the right to an attorney, even if they can't afford one. All right, my little poster here. Who's this? Uncle Sam, the U.S. government. I want you to have a good lawyer. So the government wants to make sure that everyone has a lawyer, someone who understands the legal, language. They understand law, okay? All right. And they use the 6th Amendment to support their decision. They say that the 6th Amendment protects a person's right to a fair trial and the right to have an attorney represent them in a felony criminal case. All right? And if you can't afford one, the state will appoint one for you. Okay. So now there's a case, Miranda versus Arizona. And if you've ever heard of the Miranda rights, when you're arrested, the police give you your Miranda rights, your Miranda warning. This case is where it came from. All right, so Miranda, he is a Mexican immigrant down in Arizona. He is convicted for kidnapping and for rape, and he was interrogated. Interrogated means questioned, put in a room, and the police ask you a bunch of questions. And so he was in his police interrogation. He was being questioned by the police for a couple hours, and he wrote his written confession. He says, yes, I did it. I kidnapped her and I raped her. But Miranda had not been informed of his right to an attorney and his right to remain silent during police interrogations. He was not required to tell them everything, and he was never given an opportunity to get a lawyer. So he was convicted, and he applied for an appeal. So the Supreme Court of the state of Arizona confirmed Miranda's conviction, and they held that Miranda's constitutional rights were not violated. He gave his written confession. He was convicted. So then he applied for his appeal all the way back up to the Supreme Court, and they reversed Arizona's Supreme Court ruling, saying that the statements given by the defendants without full warning of the right to remain silent and the right to cancel, the right to an attorney, a lawyer, violated the Fifth and Sixth Amendment and were not allowed to be used in court. So his written confession from down here was not allowed to be used in his criminal court case. All right? Okay. Miranda versus Arizona. So what's the big deal? Well, declare that criminal suspects must be informed of their constitutional rights to an attorney and against self-incrimination before any police questioning. You have the right to remain silent. Okay? All right. The court used the Fifth and Sixth Amendment to support their decision, and they created what is known as the Miranda rights. Got Miranda rights. Haha, that's kind of funny. All right, so here's a reminder. You need to complete vocabulary words 13 through 39, and we are going to have a court case quiz on Monday, March 17th. All right, so you will find an awesome Quizlet set on Edmodo that will help you out with that. Next class, we're going to look at the rights of students. And don't forget, your Unit 6 exam will be next Wednesday on March 19th. All right, hope you have a great day. Bye.